Welcome to Shootin' the Bull, the official podcast of the championship darts circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
Welcome in, everybody. We are live for episode 3 of Shootin' the Bull, the official podcast of the CDC. I'm Anthony Eugenia, and I want to thank the team, KJ McGlynn, Nils Nelson, Jeff McMahon behind the scenes, getting everything running. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. We've got a jam-packed, it's like a Marvel comic book. It's a double issue. So we've got lots of great guests tonight. So first, my first contributor, with his win this past week, he has now won everything that the CDC has to offer. He's the 2024 cross-border champion, 2022 Continental Cup champion. He's a 3-time circuit event winner, a 2-time Summer Series event winner. This guy's so hot that right now he could win a luck of the draw with King Tut in King Tut's current condition. Let's bring in the Jackal, Alex Spellman.
How's it going?
Thank you, Alex. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Missed you this last weekend.
Yeah. I was home attending to personal duties, so I definitely missed the event. But all of those posts that I hope were informative were done by me. I was able to put out a lot of stuff on social media, so kind of kept myself in the swing. Speaking of media and darts media, you've been all over this week, and to me, that's a great thing. That's where we want to get to. You win a major event like this, and you're booked all over the place. So how's this week been?
For the most part, actually pretty chill. Interviews aren't that tough. It's just me talking, right? So it's not very physically exerting. And other than that, just getting some yard work done. And I don't know, just getting ready for my 4 a.m. flight in the morning.
Well, I mean, the media, though, and I'm glad to find that you've, acclimated to it and done it. But it's part of the process that we're building, that you're involved in many facets, and we'll get into it in a minute. But the ability to do media and be good on camera and express your feelings and your thoughts, and that's part of this process, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, even from early on, when I was first starting to play well, people would come over to talk to me and congratulate me, and I had no idea how to handle that. I would just immediately. I'm a kind of person where I feel weird with praise, so I'd always bring up like what I could have done better, like it was good, but I could have. Yeah. Now I'm just learning, just smile and say, I really appreciate that, thank you, and it's still sincere, but I'm still learning to accept. You know what I'm getting?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, people don't. It's not that people wanted to hear a breakdown and everything you're frustrated with. They kind of want to share in the glory, the good moments and things. And I was really struck at the World Championships when they talked to Luke Littler a lot. He said, thanks to Darren Barson and the JDC, like they were constantly putting a microphone in my face, So he, by the time he showed up at the Ali Pally, I mean, I'm sure to the degree that it was a little different, but still the sort of training was there. So let's see, I got a couple of things to talk to you about. I always kind of smirk a little bit in a good way when you talk about your journey with the championship darts circuit. Early on, we launched this whole venture in 2014 and then started playing in 15. And it was a case of, we went through some rankings at the time and made some invites, but we also made it clear, like, hey, if you think that you want to take a shot at this, if we knew that there were so many hidden gems around North America that, we were open to, contact us, let us know. And you were one of those players. And, we all, myself, Peter, David, my partners, all kind of like took players that we either knew or, so I was privy and privileged to kind of be, your handler, if you will, like in the early days of you coming aboard. So I always like to, it brings back fond memories of, remembering, and you've touched on it, and I'll let you expound on it, that I knew the confidence was there. You reached out to me and you said, this is something that I certainly think I can compete on. I've got, I've got the game. I've got what it takes. I believe, and I want an opportunity.
Right.
And then, let everybody know what happened in those early days, and then where you become now to become, the number one player in the CDC right now.
Back then I was kind of in a different place with my game. I was just go up to the board and throw till it feels good, and it worked. And then there were times where it didn't. The consistency was lacking, and that's what holds most people back, is just the consistency. But I had some videos back in the day. I've been playing webcam darts since like 2009, 2010, before it was cool. And so I had a little bit of some stats to bring to you guys when I said, hey, I really want to do this. I know what level I can play at. So I kind of tried to sell me to you guys. Unfortunately, you guys bought it. And
which is what we were asking players to do at the time, right? You tell us why you should have a crack at this.
Right. And, guys that played me back then, there's a bunch of guys on the tour right now. I've probably played them many times online, and I don't remember it, and they don't remember it, but you just see a username. But no, I have videos, and I've got stats of shooting high 80s and occasionally low 90s back 12 years ago. The problem was I would follow it up with like a 61, 62, because again, everybody knows I don't drink. So back then I hadn't really gotten comfortable with stress and pressure and things like that. So yeah, I'd play well. I'd be comfortable and play well. I wouldn't be comfortable and I'd play god awful. But I knew I had a talent for it. I didn't know when or if I'd ever kind of crack the code. But I knew you guys were starting up something, and I was really only interested in high level stuff. For a long time, I didn't play darts because I loved the game. To be honest, I learned to love the game during COVID. Many people right here in North Carolina, and Cary and Raleigh, they can tell you we had many discussions before COVID where if I could just find the right motivation, I could probably be somebody. But at the time, I just didn't. I liked to play just because I liked to play. And that fed into that inconsistency. If I wasn't in the mood to play, I didn't play well and whatever. But when you guys started up what you guys started, I saw it as an opportunity of like, I'm not going to go up there and win championships or anything like that, but I know what I can do eventually. And if I invest in what you guys are building, hopefully it'll still be there for me, when I do figure the game out.
Yep.
And fortunately, that's been the case.
And you talked about, even, in our early days, we were only offering, we offered 4 weekends. We were getting started, and, just like anything else, you need a lot of reps, whether it be physical, working out, mental, right? So I've heard you talk about that. It was few and far between starts and stops getting ready for those events. And it just, so I know over COVID, that COVID break that allowed you to play people on a real regular basis is really what kicked a lot of this in, and sort of the rebirth of the second part of your CDC career.
Right. So for people watching this now or watching this later, for me it was I didn't travel very much. I didn't put myself into position to fail so that I could get better, but also to get experience. And if I was only going to a tournament once every 2 or 3 months, you put in all this time to get ready for it, and then you put so much pressure on yourself to perform that typically you don't. And with COVID, we had tournaments every night now, and the gap between me and somebody else, as far as like the distance between us, used to be hours and hours. Now it's literally just clicking a button on your computer, and so. Yeah, maybe I had an off night, but the next night I was successful. And the next night I was successful. Then I had another off night. But because I was able to do it every night, now I'm seeing the results from the hard work I'm putting in, and you start believing in yourself more. And that stress kind of and pressure of performing kind of goes away because you're, like I said, you're putting in work, you're seeing the results, and it just makes it that much easier to keep trucking along.
And any learned task or anything achieved, it takes the experience and the work, right? Like
Yeah,
it comes to mind. Chris Mason, I've heard used a term, the experience of going on stage, and we'll get there. Your stage experiences, but he says there's no way to practice crapping your pants.
right.
I
Yeah,
love
no,
that.
there really
Just
isn't.
right. So,
No,
there's no substitute for actual high level match practice or that stage experience, whatever it might be. It
right.
has to be experienced.
Right. And during COVID, and it's stuff that I go over through my coaching. Like I'm a little bit different in my approach on that side. I don't tell people what to do. I teach them the process that I kind of created for myself on how to self
Hmm.
improve. And I stopped worrying about trying to win, and I just worried about playing well. I'm a firm believer that you don't get better practicing targets; you get better practicing and perfecting your mechanics. I tell people all the time, MVG doesn't practice triple 14. I can guarantee it. But if he needs one, he's probably going to get hit. He's probably going to hit it or get pretty damn close. And
Yeah,
I kind of
I've
shifted
heard.
my
Yep,
focus,
I've
and
heard you
I've
speak
shifted
on
my
that.
focus, and it's led to a lot of great things.
Practice the process, perfect the
Yeah,
process, and the
yeah,
results will sort of come. Like, I've heard
yeah.
you speak a lot recently about what personally satisfies you, the ability that you want to perform well, and the results
Right,
to a certain degree are secondary, like
right.
that you have a lot of confidence that if you're performing well, more often than not, the good results are going to be there, right?
Right. Interestingly, talking to somebody recently, they were asking if uh, they heard what I had been saying, and they asked if I had ever looked into having like performance anxiety.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, no, I don't. Like, I don't feel weird. I can go up in front of a crowd and say things like that doesn't bother me. And he's like, but if you care more about performing more than actually winning, maybe that's a different kind of performance where you put a lot of pressure on yourself to play well, because and honestly, it kind of made sense, because that's what I do. I've mentioned
Yeah.
it in every interview, and because I just love to do it, and almost to kind of throw it back in his face a little bit. But that first year of the CDC, sitting at the table with John Parton, just talking random darts, and I told him I would always rather play well and lose than play poorly and win. And he said,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm up on a world championship stage and I win the world title with a 55 average, you think I care that I just shot a
No.
55? And I'd be hiding behind the trophy, because I would be embarrassed about my quality of play. But that's honestly
Well,
that I'm
but you
still that
see
same
that though
person.
as a player, and we see that as spectators. There's sometimes where players will, their opponent misses a double and then they miss a double, and it becomes sort of like a sloppy leg. And
Yeah,
the guy who eventually hits that double five goes up, takes the darts out, and kind of apologizes to his opponent because
yeah.
they feel bad that they were the ones to win a sloppy leg. But
You
there are
yeah,
some
you
competitors who will take a leg no matter how they get it, and a win. And John's certainly one of
they'll
them.
yeah, they'll
John
hit that
John will
30
not
that
miss an opportunity to snatch a
yeah.
leg win off
They'll
the
hit that
counter if
30
it's
darter and
available.
give the Gerwin Price celebration.
Yeah.
Whereas
So
me,
now let's take that sort of idea of the journey that you went through, early CDC days, maturing, playing some online, and then showing back up with the CDC and what you did. Now let's talk about your experiences overseas. You now in the last 2 years, 2.5 ish. You've played some Q schools that led into players, the PDC Challenge tours, and an opportunity for a call up, and then some
right.
Modus. So and now even some bigger ones, obviously MSG once and now coming up twice, World Championship. So talk to me about those experiences early on going in, walking into a PDC room, whether it be the Q school, the early chance at a call up. That must have been a big deal about physically walking into that room with the
Yeah.
128 of the world's best. And then how has that progressed now to not only internally your psyche about belonging in that room, and the repetition of it? What has that done for you over time, and how has it come out in your game? And I think we just lost Alex. I was like, is he Is he listening intently to my question, or is he frozen? So I think Alex just froze a little bit. So I'm going to give him a shot to log back out and log in. So we've got Alex coming in a second. I have a couple of things while we wait for Alex to come back in. I had a plug that I wanted to. If you're on the East Coast, there's a gentleman, Gary Yorman, goes by Gary Trenton, big organizer in the New Jersey area. All right, he does a great thing called Darts for Dreams. Look it up on Facebook. Saturday, April 27th. All right, Darts for Dreams 19. They do a great tournament that raises lots of money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So kudos to Gary, and we wanted to get Gary a plug. All right, so let's see, what can I go over? We've got PopCon coming up. We want to talk about the weekend that just was. While we wait for Alex, I have somebody that I can chat with. You know him, you love him. He will now be the first repeat contributor on Shootin' the Bull, the one, the only, the big boss man, the CEO, Peter Citera. Where are you, Pete? There's Pete. And the technical difficulties continue, folks. There's Peter Citera, who's going to break out with the pen and paper and write his replies to me. Do we got Pete?
I have a chisel here handy for you. I can actually chisel it in stone, and we can put it on the Pony Express, and I'll get it to you in about 5 days.
Oh, it's all good, everybody. That's the fun of doing a live program. So we'll get Alex back in, and because Alex was going to be here for the whole stretch. He was, as we see, Peter Citera is going to join us, and at some point, Angelo DiGiulio is going to be in. So Alex was going to stay in for the whole evening. So as soon as we can get him back in, he can come back in into the flow. And I wanted to talk about perspectives of everybody from this past weekend, from Peter's perspective, top of the company, to Angelo being on stage and stuff. So in lieu of having Alex with us, Pete, give me your perspective from not just the company's perspective in terms of, nuts and bolts and numbers and all that kind of stuff, but, your perspective as somebody who loves the game, somebody who's in the room, tournament director, not only, obviously we got Alex's 9-darter, cross-border itself, Nations Cup. So, give me Pete's experiences this past weekend in Michigan City.
Yeah, there were obviously a ton of narratives that came out of it. The 9-darter kind of eclipsed everything, and rightly so. It was the first 9-darter in a major televised event that we did, and so obviously all kudos to Alex to hit one in that situation and make history is a wonderful thing. From the other perspectives, the crowd was simply amazing. I thought we did well last year in Jersey City at White Eagle, but this year the crowd, I think, was even more passionate. And the wonderful thing about it was, 60% to 70% of those people had no idea about darts. They've never been to a darts tournament. They might have played darts in the pub. We came to town, and Michigan City, God bless them, they came out and they supported. They turned out. They did.
Yeah.
And kudos to all the people that helped us along the way there. We got Terry Greedham over at Michigan City, City of Michigan City, the director of special events. Now, he's the one who kind of led the charge to get us there, along with the folks from the Bulls movie. All the radio station, the people at Uptown Social. I mean, all of the promotion that they did in the area, certainly paid off. And the crowd was receptive. It's not like they just, it starts slow, and that's the nature of it, right? But when people realize that, hey, this is more of a participation event, right? It's a full contact spectator event. They got up and they, the signs were waving, the chants were going, the cheers were going, and it was really, really just wonderful.
You don't have to wait for this on stage. Like, get there, sing, be jolly, like, be the show.
Yeah, and look, the players all had a great time. The venue was wonderful. I really can't say enough good things. And, I know it sounds like I'm just, going on about how wonderful things are and not talking about anything else, but they really were. There really was not much to complain about or to, look back on and go, gee, I wish that would have went a little better. Obviously there's a lot of, from my perspective as the tournament director, as the CEO of the company, there's a lot of stress leading up to it. But once we get into it, at that point, the event's running. The team is a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing. This isn't their first rodeo. It was really gratifying to kind of see the team do what the team is trained to do. And that's, from the front of the house ticketing to the, the people in the player room, Jeff bringing people down and the production crew, everybody did what they were supposed to do, and we came out with an event that was great, not only in the room, but it was also great out there, for the people watching at home. Hey, I see we got Alex.
All right. So we got the champ back in. So
did you not put a quarter in the internet there, Alex? Is that the problem?
Nah, I don't know if it's one. Somebody must have hit an electric pole or something. My electric generator outside, I could hear it trying its hardest to get my power back up. But
yikes!
All good.
Yeah, I'm going through some cockamamie setup question, and I'm like, is he just thinking real hard, or did he freeze? I said we lost him.
I got bored and just cut out.
As you rightly should, when Eugenia starts rambling on, everybody has the right. It's in the fine print to check out at some point. Trust me, Citera's done it enough in the decade plus that we've been together. I could just see it in his eyes. All right. He's gone.
Land the plane, Eugenia. Land the plane.
Yes, but so
let's see.
sorry, go ahead.
No, got you.
I was going to say I remember your whole question. So if you want to spare everybody the repeat there.
All right, let's.
But you were just basically saying,
do that. Give me the PDC road, and then we'll swing back to the apex of it, a 9-darter.
Right. So everybody's got their own personal progression. It's okay. I just started darts. I'm thinking about a league, and then you go play league and you're doing well, and you're like, I'm thinking about going to tournaments, and then you go to tournaments, and then you start thinking, okay, maybe I want to try the CDC out, and then you do the CDC, and then you're doing well there, and it's just a natural progression. It's like a video game. You beat it on beginner mode, you go to intermediate, you beat that, you go to advanced, whatever. So, like I said, I always had a knack for the game. I just finally figured it out during COVID, and the first year after COVID, it was seeing, okay, can I do something with this nationally, like getting experience? And then once I got the experience, I came back the next year and I tried to win everything. And then the year after that, it's like, okay, now that I've done that here, let's go try dipping my feet into Q school and stuff. I don't know that I was ready for a tour card because I had zero experience. So there's 2 years in a row where I didn't think I wanted my tour card. However, there's two completely different reasons why. For each, but the first one was, I want to go get a taste of European play, see what that quality is.
Yeah, and a lot of credit goes to you for doing that. For there's players that you're not always ready, and
right.
For a lot of philosophy says, if you wait till you're ready, you never will be. So there is a lot of merit, I should say, into jumping in.
Right. And I encourage everybody that if you're an 80 plus shooter, and you have the expendable cash, go do it, because you're going to be surprised. Those guys, don't get me wrong, they're the best in the world for a reason, but they're not as good. And I don't mean this in any disrespect. They're not as good as we think they are. And what I mean by that is, like, when someone plays me, they're like, oh God, I got to play Spellman. And that almost beats them right away right there. And then if I have an off game, well, they're not like prepared to take advantage of that. I see Colm Nilsson in the chat. He's taken advantage of that a couple times. But when I went over there, it's you find out, okay, these guys are good, but they're beatable. And the guys that are really good, it's like, okay, well, but if I hold my throw on a 15-darter, I'm still probably winning that leg. Like,
Yeah, there's spots, there's going to be opportunities, as you said.
Right.
You just need to be prepared to take advantage of those opportunities.
Right. And the more consistent of a player that you can be, the more opportunities you're going to afford yourself. There are players out there that are that I enjoy playing because I know that they're up and down. And I know that if I just play my even-keeled game, I'm going to win that match. And then there's other players that, and I'm thinking, webcam darts a decade ago playing Jeff Smith on there. And there were times where I would outscore him, but I couldn't seem to finish. And that's what Jeff is great at. It's, not necessarily going 180, 180, 180. It was just, ton, 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 ton out, ton, 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 ton out. It was just, and it's exhausting over a long format match when every single throw is at least a ton. It may not be a ton 80, but still a ton will wear you down.
Yeah.
A lot of people go into matches when they play me thinking, oh, I need ton 80s. No, you don't. Throw in 2 ton 40s and a ton, and you're fine. Against anybody in the world, that's fine.
Pete heard commentary. Exactly. I'm a big those 140s. That's the number that I want. Those consistent, repetitive 140s. And another thing we talk about in commentary a lot is just like you talked about the length of what CDC PDC plays is the consistency starts to put that difference between the more pedigreed player. After 3 or 4 legs, that's when you start to see that player that is more consistent, is more focused, has less self errors. Put that distance. 3-2 now turns into 5-2, 5-3, and away you go for the experienced player.
It's the differentiator of long format. The cream is going to rise to the top 95% of the time.
Right, and it's like I know we'll probably talk about it in a little bit, but like a 9 dart leg. If my opponent throws one on me, that's great, but that's only one leg. You got 5 more to go. And odds are you're not going to throw another one. So I'm sitting pretty here, unless your name's Phil.
And just on cue, and you talk about consistency and where all of that experience brings Alex Spellman. Last Friday night in Michigan City, we're going to take a look here at his magical 9 darter, and let's go through it. And Alex, if you want to share with what's going through your mind, I'm sure early on it's we're in leg 6. Doing the business, it's we're at work, we're doing things. It's a couple of darts in when things start to unfold.
Right. And early on, I wasn't necessarily playing bad. But I wasn't playing great. It was 81s, 83s, tons. The leg before this had the 60 double 5 to close that leg out, and those darts felt good. And when darts feel good and they start actually landing where you want them to, it makes the next couple throws that much easier. And I fortunately I'm very good. If I have a good first dart, like this next dart's dead center bottom wire, that's almost a guaranteed ton 40 every single time.
Well, I mean, Mardel is now coined a term like the first dart merchant, right? But it's that first dart sets the tone for the whole turn. So now we're back there. What are we thinking? If we're thinking
honestly,
at all.
You're not really thinking. I mean, the odds of me hitting the 9 are still pretty low. So you're not even thinking about it until you hit the first triple. So once you hit the first triple, the hardest dart is the second dart, which is why I catch it in the corner. But the double 12 was once you hit you got a shot at it. Now it's like I said, all the pressure's on the second dart. Or when I say the second dart, I mean the 8th dart.
Understood. That 9, which usually is the 19, and So we go out to the crowd. I know you've said you're trying to keep things sort of even keeled, but knowing that this is a big moment for you, for everybody in the room. So let's get out to the crowd a little bit, and we did cut away on that 19 shot to show that Sylvain, your opponent there, was doing a classic. Keith Deller sort of moment to he's cheering on the turn. It's a moment that everybody, even opponents, want to see happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it. So fortunately, because I've hit a few leading into this, it made that one much easier because you can do it. If I had never hit one before, there's probably 0 chance I hit it in that situation. Just because, like we talked about, going to these events and getting experience, since I got the experience of, I remember talking to Larry Butler at WADA 2 years ago, where I think I went like 6 or 7 deep 2 or 3 times in the same match against him. Like I couldn't miss. And I told him it's not a matter of, if, it's just a matter of when. Like I've been so close so many times that it's not, it wasn't like a thing for me. And coincidentally, 2 matches later, I missed the double 12 for a 9 on the stream in the finals. But now that, like I said, at the time I hadn't had one before, and I ended up losing that leg.
Well, like you said, once you get it under your belt, and you did something there, and I saw and I heard you touch on something early in the week, and this is where I hopefully can bring Pete a little bit. We've talked to the players, and we understand that we're almost asking them to perform a complete dichotomy of you've got floor feel and floor action, to where there's you've got your fellow competitors around you, more reserved, but yet we then sometimes in the same event or a more specialized event put you on stage with the expectations of now letting the emotions flow a little bit. And I can relate to the struggle with that. Like, my dad taught me to play very even keeled. If I hit something very good, act as if you had done it before. If you lose, don't show your opponent tons of emotion. Stay very even keeled. So I sort of very much relate to the struggle of a player that may have, for so long been reserved, where, now we want to get that camera in your face.
So, and kind of tandem with like the not drinking thing and having to keep myself level, whether it's highs or lows. The other part of that is I'm just the kind of person where, like, I don't expect perfection out of everybody else, but I do from myself. It's like, if I do something great, I put thousands of hours into this. Like, yeah, of course I did that. Like, it's not exciting for me because that's what I'm trying to do. That's what the work I'm putting in for. It's surprising to me when I fall flat on my face because I've put too many hours in to be throwing 60 averages anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that moment was and I'm not lying. Like, it was more fun for me because I did it on the stream for the CDC in front of the crowd. Like, when I've won my bullshooter stuff, it was more fun to win for the people watching and supporting me, because I know that they're getting excited about it, than for me. Like I said, I prepare myself to win. I'm there to do my job, and when I do my job, well, good. I don't know how better else to say that, but
so
I don't
Pete,
know.
let's take that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Alex, finish that thought.
Oh, no, I was done. You're good.
So Pete, let's take that, what Alex sort of set us up there with the, emotion of doing it for the fans and moments like that. And then this 9-darter in particular, about these layers we keep I want to say being given, but it's sort of what would be the term? A reciprocal thing where we're setting up opportunities for the players, they're performing, and it kind of circles back to us in that we've seen great performances now, players going overseas, good performances, some W's, and so the next progression is, all right, now start giving us some 9-darters, right? Like that's the next great sort of plateau for us, the next thing for us to have in our repertoire of things to promote. And great moments are these magical 9-dart moments.
Sure. Yeah. You hit it on the nose, in that when we first started the relationship with the PDC, we were nowhere near where we are now in terms of player level, player skill, just repeating the highs, right? So you kind of start saying, well, when's the first 9-darter going to come? Well, we got the first 9-darter from Brenneman, in COVID time, and then we got the first 9-darter on stream from Snook last year, and now here we are with the first 9-darter in a major event from Alex. And Alex, you're climbing the ladder, exactly right. And Alex, at some point, I want to know which one is more memorable, this one or the one you hit in the bathroom back in New York City.
Well, technically, I wasn't in the bathroom. It was the door. It was the only. In England, there's not very much space in these places, so the only spot we had was on the back of the bathroom door. So someone had to use it. You had to kind of wait, or whatever. But this one's easy. It was nice to hit one the day before I had to play at Worlds, because that gets your confidence up, and feeling like you're going to play really well. And then this one, like I said, it was better because it's in front of the crowd. Like, the first one I hit on a person was on a live, like on a DPFL match, and I just kind of did like a, and then that was it. It's kind of
I
like
really
if you
didn't
see
expect
the
you to say the bathroom 180 was more memorable, but I had to throw it out there. So
I know it's fine. It's fine.
I actually been a little concerned if you did, to be honest.
Yeah. But I do want to finish a thought from the question you had earlier about the progressions and stuff like that. So got to play cross border last year, was great. But I didn't know how to expect MSG. And MSG, I was about as anxious and nervous as I've ever been when I first walked in, because you don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I kind of started thinking about it and you start seeing the people in the crowd, you're like, I've played in front of all these people many times before. And for some reason, that seemed to settle me down like a significant amount, fortunately. Then I got to go play in front of a small crowd at Modus, and that was awful because you can hear everything. And not that they were distracting, but it's just, I don't know these people, and there's like 15 of them, and I don't know. It was just weird.
Right.
But Ali
Susan,
Pally,
George, Larry, thank you.
yeah, but Ali Pally, and I'm not just saying this, didn't feel that much. Unfortunately for Stowe, he had to play opening night, so we didn't really get a feel for the place. But watching some of these matches, it didn't feel that much different than MSG to me. Like, it felt exactly the same. Now, when I was up on stage, the only difference was the volume of the noise. When I was on stage, it was 10 times louder than MSG. And every time you hit a 180, you could actually, it felt like you were getting punched in the back of the head by the sound from the crowd. But it's all like background noise. It becomes static after a minute or two. But as far as like the look and the feel and the number of people, it didn't look that much different than MSG, and that allowed me to again kind of settle in. You don't go in expecting much. I'm a nobody in that side of the world, and so the no pressure. Now, I don't know how this next one's going to come, because with the 9-darter, with the win this last weekend, with the success on the World Championship stage, I know there's going to be a lot more expectations, not just from everybody watching and participating, but from me to go kick some butt. And so I'm excited to see where that goes.
And sorry, just to kind of close the gate on what I was saying earlier. You meant that the 9-darter is huge, right? But as you're climbing the ladder, 9-darters are going to happen when the averages are consistently high. And so I think for us, just from a company perspective, it's reaching that plateau of consistent 95 pluses, and now you're breaking 100 on a regular basis, and now you're showing that truly you can compete with the top in the world, right? It took a long time for us to get to that first 100 average, and then they started to occur more frequently, and now you're seeing them fairly regularly. To me, that's the consistency. The 9-darters are wonderful, and they're going to be highlight pieces, and they're going to be highlight reels, but it's the consistency that really plants the flag in the ground.
Yeah, and not to our players, like you said, is the consistency, because even like the Ross Snook match, when he hit his 9, it was actually kind of a struggle for both players during that match, and it just out of nowhere. But that shows the quality of players we have, that even when we're struggling, we can kind of pull that out at any time. If you take our top 10 guys and put them over in the Challenge Tour, or even even Q School, they're going to be near the top of those lists, easy. But that's the other reason they have to go over there, is because you're going to walk in the and every, like I said, other players that are watching right now that have maybe not gone to the big tournaments yet, go, because what's going to happen is you're going to walk in the room, you're going to watch some matches, you're going to play some matches, and you're going to be like, okay, these guys are good, but they're not as good as I thought they were. And it's going to give you this weird confidence boost, like, okay, I can actually do this.
Sure.
And again, that's not any disrespect to them. It's just we've gotten better, and we can actually hang with it.
And all of those items that you just shared, those experiences, like, make guys like Peter and I very happy, because those are the things that are our goals. When players have their goals to work on, those are the goals that Peter and I work on, that we want to hear, that players say, I went from A to B to C, and the transition was more comfortable because I went through A and B. our regional stuff, the dart players tours is a certain aspect to that. Then the championship dart stuff and MSG, so that's those are ingrained in exactly what we do, what we set out to do, is to give players the experiences, learned experiences, so when you get to a certain place, it's not as deer in the headlights, not as foreign as it might have once been. Yep. So let's one other thing, we've got another contributor coming in, waiting in the wings. But before we go there, Pete, I wanted to talk to Alex a little bit. Just I talked to him earlier about his road when early CDC working with me, and we're bringing him in, and that traveling, and how much Alex is involved in stuff. And one of the things that he's involved in is our Players Council. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. So it's great that you got in for this. Not that we need to go too deep, but I thought it'd be a real good experience to get a chance to express to the player field at large that this exists. Not that we have to go through each one, but its overall aims and what high goals both the existing players council has, what we have, about what we can do with something like this.
Sure. The council really is the player voice to CDC. We get a lot of feedback. We get a lot of, whether it's direct or indirect, sometimes just browsing social media and you come across something, right? So we get a lot of feedback, and it really is tough sometimes to separate, the wheat from the chaff, the real from the noise. And the player council really does give the CDC players the ability to kind of talk to people who are also on tour, to have them advocate for them. And it makes it easier for us because when we plan, we can take things to the council, a subset of the tour card holders, get their feedback. If we have questions for the players at large, they can go to reach out, make the connections they have with the player base themselves, and kind of get some feedback. So it's really helpful for us because it helps us manage and plan. And it really, I think, is also helpful for the players to know that you really do have a partner in this, and they're not part of CDC. We don't control them. They truly are an independent voice, and that's really important now. I mean, we haven't talked necessarily about one of the other big steps we took this past weekend, but wagering, and as we get bigger and as we have more eyeballs on what we do, obviously the behavior, just the whole tour in general is going to come under more of a microscope. And so, if there's an issue with somebody getting torn up on social media, which we all know happens way too often, you get some schmuck who's lost a couple of bucks in a match and wagering on a match, and they just abuse the player, right? Well, the player now has a place, not only can they report that to us in the DRA, but they also have this group that can kind of, hell, that happened to me too, and I blocked them, and here's how I handle it, and the stuff that you and I, as people that run this thing, we can't give feedback on that, right? I've never been up there with the chance at a 9-darter in front of fans. People have never bet on, other than maybe the over under and how long I'm going to be on this planet, people have never really bet on me. So at the end of the day, the player council really are the advocates for the players in the tour. And there'll be some elections coming up. And one of the cool things they're trying to do, and they're really grabbing the bull by the horns, which I got to give them credit for. They're trying to make sure there's representation from some of the subgroups inside the tour. So, for example, they want to have a new tour card holder representative. So somebody that'll represent essentially the interests of people that have just gotten on the tour. I think one of the things, and I'm rambling a little bit, but it's important. One of the things that maybe we haven't done as well as we should is get in touch and bring people into the fold and tell them what to expect and things like that. That's the kind of stuff that gets lost in the shuffle when you're just running the day-to-day business. But the player council now can do that, work with us, kind of put together some material, and then they can be the ones to lead and make that introduction. So there's a lot of good things happening with that council. And if you are a CDC player, don't lose sight of the fact that they are your advocate.
Thank you. That was really the crux of why I put this in my notes to touch on. I've been very impressed. It's a very engaged, cerebral group that really has some, great ambitions on what, this can become. And even though there's a lot to do, so sometimes it's a slow moving entity, but I'm very impressed with the layout that's been constructed to, like you talked about, have voting and elections and real representation. So that's what I want to touch on. So I'll give Alex just if you'd like to give us your perspective of being involved, what it could be, and then we'll take a little break and bring in Mr. DiGiulio.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you guys asked me to join that initial council, and I said no. Mostly because I didn't feel like I had enough time in the game to really know how things used to run and how they run now. I didn't feel like I had the full context, but you guys talked me into it. And the rest of the guys that you have in there, you specifically selected because we're not yes men. We'll tell you if we think an idea is stupid in a nicer way than that, of course. But no,
but truly, yes.
We're genuinely trying to help make things better. And, from players on the outside, it's, yes, we have a lot of top players in that council, but the majority of stuff that we're talking about in there has nothing that doesn't actually even really impact. I'm more interested in how do we get more players in. So I'm more interested in focusing on that. I know that there's comments that, you guys necessarily didn't work with the council in the past. Well, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't care. What I care about is it's happening now. When we make strong suggestions, you guys trust us and trust that we have the players' best interests in mind, and you make those changes. Some of the changes that weren't very popular, guess what? I was probably one of the ones pushing for it the most. And if you want to know why, just come talk to me and I'll give you all the details you want. At least we're not just making changes for the sake of making changes. We have logical reasons for making these. And if it doesn't work, guess what? We'll try something else. We keep what works, we change what doesn't. And eventually you work towards something that works for the most.
Open, honest dialogue with the true desire to make things as best they can be, and always with an open mind to examine on a regular basis. So thank you, gentlemen. Both of these fine guys are going to stick around. We talked about Alex getting his second chance to be on stage at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So you are not going to want to miss meeting all of us in the Big Apple at MSG. So here's a little spot to get you all pumped up, and then we'll be back on the other side.
Luke Humphries, MVG, Michael Smith.
The best against the best. The best against the best.
There is no sign of this teenage dream coming to an end.
It's 8 of the best, and there is no hiding place.
All right, so now let's bring into the conversation our next contributor. Can you imagine, in this day and age, a fine gentleman like this gets the opportunity to be on stage for a 9-darter? Mr. Angelo DiGiulio, welcome in, brother.
Hello, gentlemen. Nice to see you all.
Hey, Angelo.
All right, so we got Angelo in here. So, Angelo, give me some of, we've walked through what Alex was thinking during that 9-darter, what Pete's going through as head of the company, and then getting a feel of the crowd. What is Angelo going through there as that second 180 goes in and you're standing up there on stage?
Well, I'll tell you what, me and Nicholas, the referee, we're sitting there, and obviously we know what's going on, and he kind of taps me on the knee, on the hip as we see, the first 180. Okay, you expect that from Alex and these guys. The second one goes in. Okay, we start to get a little, hey, get ready, and then we're watching. Our eyes are glued to the board, obviously, and we're following it. We see the 20, we see the 19. We both look up. And we kind of had a feeling it was going to happen, right? Once you see the trip 19, Alex is certainly capable, and we kind of knew it was going to go in, and it was just a great experience. And you alluded to Ross Nick last year, so that was I was had a part of that one too. I was refereeing and scoring that one. But to have this one on stage with Alex, with that crowd, I mean, it was definitely pretty cool.
So we're starting to see a common link through these 9 daughters. If you look for is Angelo scoring my match? If no, I want Angelo. So look out. So I just thought of something to ask, maybe to turn to Alex just for a second again about that the path. Have you thought about the 180 path? I remember hearing John Lowe for years say that I always knew when I got there he was going down to 17s, 18, 17s, double 18, and we've seen Littler now go to get that 19 early because he wants to get back to it with a 144 at the end. Have you ever given it that thought, and then have you chosen a road to go down? Obviously, we saw what you did, and was that a conscious choice?
I don't think it matters. It's probably a little easier to stay up there. I mean, it depends. Is it harder to go top, bottom, top? Yes, that's a harder switch. But I've just hit 6 triple 20s in a row, so it's a little easier to get that next dart in there. But theoretically, yes, for the flow of the throw, it might be easier to go bottom to top to slightly up to the left kind of thing. I used to be a lot stronger double 18 shooter. Now double 12, double 18 are about even. I'm probably a better triple 15 shooter than triple 19, but I used to go 60, 45, 36. But now I've gotten to the level where I don't care. It just seems like the natural progression to go down to the 19 at this point. So that's what I do.
So we got a couple of things we can go over. Let's head to the Nations Cup. So not only did we have the cross-border darts challenge, which was, the lineup, 8 USA players versus 8 Canadian players. There's a team aspect to it. All those games earned each respective side a point, We went almost as far as we could, Citera. We went down to the second semifinal, and Canada just with that win of Cameron over Bunce got Canada defended the I was going to say the Canada Cup. Oh, they haven't won that many. We're not going to rename it yet. You got to win 5 in a row, and then we can rename it Canada Cup, the Nations Cup. But I've got my John Part shirt on for the honorary captain, and he's got 2 victories. So Alex, let's go to Pete first. You did a post interview and you brought up Larry Butler and John Part, and got some great stuff from both of those icons, literally. And in it, you asked, hey, this is becoming a thing.
It is. There's no doubt about it. I had the pleasure of being able to kind of run the venue during the last night, during Saturday night. Just in the venue, behind backstage, I was kind of able to just be everywhere, right? And the really cool thing was watching, and it was really the Canadians that were in the balcony cheering. Like, they were people that were eliminated were sitting there going, we're going to get this. Come on, go get this. There was some real just interest and passion about, I want to go and win this for Canada. More so from the Canadians than the U.S. players. I'm not suggesting the U.S. players weren't into it, but that's what really hit me, was the fact that they were there. Keith Way was just ecstatic about it. And he's a guy who just is always pumped up anyway. But watching his reaction and knowing that they were about to win, and then when they did win, was just priceless. It was great.
So Alex, give us, USA's got some work to do here. Down 0-2, and next year going to look for a little retribution. But what was the word on the U.S. side, both going into the event and as the weekend unfolded?
I think based on what a lot of us are doing with Lobby and Jules on the Pro Tour, Gates has kind of found some really good form lately. Myself finally coming together the weekend before. I felt like we had the stronger team. Maybe that's also because that Jeff Smith and Campbell weren't there, but I think we were the stronger team. I forgot to didn't forget, but like if you throw in Stowe and obviously what he did on his run, and then Doug and what he did, when he played at MSG was great. He made the Continental Cup final 2 years ago, so I really did. I really thought we had the stronger team, but we came up a little short. I know that Larry before. I think it was right when Stowe and Cameron were playing. Larry came up to find John Part because they wanted to watch it. He wanted to watch it with Part, so he could kind of
brilliant.
I couldn't find him. I think John might have been commentating on that match. I can't remember. It came up a little short. I do want to point out that I beat all Canadians, so I didn't, knock out any Americans.
Alex did his part.
Yeah. But no, and that's one of those things, like, you're aware of it, but like I said, I'm only one person. It's like going to league night. I can win all my matches, but if the other guys don't, then, so I didn't put any extra pressure on it. It's just I go do my job, they do their job, we'll win, and we came up one match short.
Sometimes that makes for a good event from an organizing standpoint, that one player can't drive the complete outcome, especially with something that has a team aspect to it. It's good to see that. So, Angelo, what were your perspectives on watching the Nations Cup aspect of this past weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to see a much tighter match than last year. It did come down, and we were all aware, right? Even the staff. I believe the Stowe Cameron match, I was off, so I was watching that from the crowd, and I'm sitting there saying, like, okay, if Stowe wins this, it's going to come down to the the last one. And I mean, not that I'm a homer for America, but yeah, it would have been nice to see the series get knotted up 1-1. But it was close, and the Canadians, listen, they have played the last two events on American soil. I think that some of that camaraderie, they play a lot of their events over here, and I think that lends itself to, some of that camaraderie.
That's a good point.
They have that.
Yeah, I think to your point, right, in that a lot of times they're traveling in groups, more isolated groups, a lot more like they're spending time in Airbnbs, things like that, right? That's kind of the heart of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, they'll stay 2, 3, 4 to a room, when they travel to these events. So I mean, that camaraderie is inherently there. We all know the Canadian dart system is, their national system, provincial system. These guys see each other a lot. They've been playing against each other since they were youths, so it's they have that bond, going in, where America is a little bit more, people are, come from all different walks and kind of stepped in the games in different ways. But these guys came through the system. They're, they have that familiarity.
So, I mean, kudos to the overall package this past weekend. We got some great performances on stage, great reactions from the crowd. I think the broadcast was wonderful. So I think another sort of, great step in the evolution of what is trying to be accomplished here in North America, right? And like, it's going to keep in my head. I love the way it came out. Like, this is a thing. Like, it's truly turned into a thing, and I mean that respectfully. In that, you craft something, you put it on, and you're not sure of the traction, and it takes some of these moments to really get things moving, and it feels like the juices are certainly flowing on the cross border.
Yeah, it was from a staff perspective. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Angelo. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I say from a staff perspective, it's I joined the CDC, pretty much full time back in 2019. I've been part of the 4 Continental Cup since then. The 2 cross borders. Every event gets better from an operation side, right? From a staff side, from a how we put on events. In addition to the play, obviously the players have evolved and kept up with kind of the international game, and we see that happening with tour cards, etc. But everything we're building, and when I say we, I mean the collective CDC, what really you guys are doing, and it's great just to be a part of that. But every event, every weekend, every tour weekend, everything, gets a little bit better every time, right? And I hope, some of the players recognize that. And, I get feedback from some of them different ways. And, there are guys that are definitely, they appreciate it. Some guys are oblivious or maybe don't appreciate it as much as others, but, it's bound to happen. But I think from my heart, we are moving in the right direction. And I think there's great things on the horizon.
It was the Nations Cup was one of many subplots that were part of this event. There was some things that you notice as somebody who obviously is involved day to day and intimately, but one of the things that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention outside of the Nations Cup, I mean, look, Sylvain Bourdeaux, right? He has a 9-darter dropped on him. He's a part of history on the wrong side of it. And then he goes on Facebook and basically says, man, you know what? This is a really big step. I belong. And it's a real big shot in the arm. Somebody realized on that stage, you know what? This is where I belong. Another one of those was Keith Way. I've mentioned him a couple times. Keith, I really love his energy, right? And last year, Keith had, I would think, if you talked to him, was not one of his better years. He had some challenges, some health, some personal challenges and such. And, he came and he got through Jules Van Dongen in the first round match. And I think he really just found his confidence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, you lose to Alex in the quarters. Okay, fair enough. But that was just another kind of sub story, right? He found what he was lacking, and I think he's going to be better for it. So there's a lot of these different little narratives that I think sometimes get missed when you just look at the top level things like so and so won an event or so and so hit the 9-darter.
Yeah, and I love talking to guys. Like you mentioned, Sylvain. I spoke with him a little bit over the weekend. Being a floor official, I get to see him, as the year goes by, and you meet some of these guys. And yeah, I mean, you do want to root for some of them, right? I mean, some of these guys are good guys, and I love the stories of the guys that come through. Like last year, it was Matt Arpin in Indianapolis at the first weekend, right? He was new to the tour and really, performed well in the PDC qualifiers. And talking to these guys, I love talking to them because they're into it and they realize the gravity of the situation, right? Once they get through there and they start getting some wins, they start to get it, right? And they're getting the big picture, and it's great to see.
That is amazing to see. And at the heart of sport, the compelling part is always the story. Those are the things that we would love to explore even more. It's what makes you tune in as a viewer, the compelling story, the trials overcome, and achievements won. And it's what we want to build here. And I'll segue into something that Alex has been saying, and I want to applaud him for it. That not that he's not going to participate overseas, but he wants to really focus, as we all do as a company and as a player base, on North America. Like, we want to make this successful by us, for us, as the phrase goes, right? With the overseas things being the additional components to it, the cherry on the cake, but the goal truly is to have high competition, good prize money, profitable ventures, all of the things that you could think of, be successful here. So I just want to, first thank Alex for saying that publicly, and then get thoughts from everybody, sort of on that is the goal. It's not to get on a plane and go somewhere else. It's to have enough players. As Angelo touched on, it's the players, you see them, that light bulb goes off, that, as Pete talked about, I belong, like I'm here and I can compete. And then, I get the bigger picture. And that excites us to no end as organizers. So Alex, give me, I'll work down my little picture box there. Alex, Peter to Angelo, if you have any thoughts on that, North American. And of course, Mr. Alex Spellman is muted.
Oh no!
So we'll go to Pete. If you have anything on there, I just certainly wanted to note. Well, when you get back, Alex, we'll go to you, bud.
Live TV, folks. There we go.
Live TV, exactly. Live TV and podcasting. We'll have people on Apple iTunes tomorrow going, I can't hear anybody. Go ahead.
That was me.
You
Alex.
can't hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Oh, all I did was mute and then unmute. So I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, like you said, you know, and going back to what we talked about earlier about those progressions. So the first year after COVID, I was testing in the waters here in the States. The next year, I was really successful. The next year, I tested the waters in Europe, and last year, mixed bag of success. But you know, it just started occurring to me when I was in yeah, I had an issue with my throw, and maybe my thoughts are different if I didn't play poorly for an entire month while I was gone. But I don't really think it would have changed much. I'm there for 3.5 weeks away from my home, my spouse. Like it's no different than being deployed on a military. I mean, obviously it's not for a year at a time, but it's for. I mean, even now, just here in the States, I'm gone Friday through Sunday, pretty much every single weekend, and I don't bring my wife with me because I'm there this is my job. I'm there to make money. If I bring her with me, that's an extra flight ticket. That's an extra mouth to feed, especially if I want to take her to Europe with me. But then the other side of it is if we keep sending our best players somewhere else, how are we going to build something here? I would get it if I was the only player playing at this level, but I'm not. It's not. We don't even have 2 or 3 players. We've got 10, 15 players ready to go right now. Like I said, if you send our top 16 players, and I keep saying us, and I keep speaking as though the Canadians are part of the the U.S., but we're all so close to each other and we all support each other, so might as well be the same.
Well, you should. We don't always get it right, but as a matter of fact, 2014, I'm sitting with Mr. Citera and Mr. Irene. We wanted it to be a we proposition. And again, nothing's ever perfect. We've strayed sometimes from it, but the idea was a we proposition. Players, us, organizers, broadcasters, it's a we proposition.
Right. And if you took our top 16 players between Canada and North America and sent them over to Challenge Tour, Q School, whatever, almost every single one of them would be successful. And if not, it's probably going to be an outside factor like lack of experience and comfortability, or not enjoying being away from home, or not sleeping. I know you mentioned the call up to the Pro Tour. Well, that was an awful weekend for me because I couldn't sleep. I don't go to bed till 2 a.m. normally, and now I've got 6 hours difference. So that's me going to bed is usually 8 a.m. for them. And there was just nights. It's like, okay, it's 6 a.m. and I still haven't gone to sleep. So do I try to get 2 hours of bad sleep or just stay up and play? And I just stayed up and played, and I still played halfway decent, but
no good choices there.
It just wasn't, but that's things that are going on outside of the actual darts. And I'm not going to lie that I think the moment that made me think like I really want to try to build it in North America was that 15.5-hour flight from San Francisco to Hong Kong. And I was like, I can't do this. This is awful. I enjoyed my time there. Don't get me wrong. And yes, the flights to Europe are only like 6-7 hours, but still, it's just a lot of it's draining, and
it's brutal.
To be honest, it's not fun. The playing is fun. The rest of it is not fun.
The travel is brutal.
Look at like say Stowe at the Worlds. I was there for most of it. Most of the lead up was interviews and all this other stuff. He didn't really have a time to settle down, settle in, and practice. And he didn't play to what he wanted to play on stage. If you take Jules coming into this weekend, not only does he have a quick turnaround from Europe, but as soon as he gets here, I'm sure he had meetings with the movie and all this kind of stuff. It was probably tough for him to settle in as well. So you have all the other distractions that kind of throw off your regular routine. We're more familiar with the travel process here in the States. It's okay, a quick 3-hour flight, no big deal. You have some downtime if you need it at the airport. It's not a huge deal. The worst thing we got to worry about is them like losing our bag or a flight delay, but it's not that bad. It's a quick if there's an emergency that happens, it's so much more difficult to get from Hong Kong here or London and here versus if I'm in Indy, it's a 9-hour drive at worst. It's just I think we're in a, like I said, if it was just me, easy decision, I'm going over there to do stuff. But we have so many players now. And yeah, those top 16, that's not including all the little guys that are just a little too inconsistent at the moment. and the guys we haven't discovered yet. You know, like you said, Matt Campbell just shows up. I heard I can make money if I sign up. You know, whatever. We're in a great position right now to grow the game here. And if we fail, we fail. But I'm going to try my best to help you guys out.
We don't want to use the F word. So I'll tee up Pete. I'm sure Pete probably has a few things in the hopper himself, but tee up there where we've got, as Alex talks about, 16 players ready to go with high averages, compelling, fun games. Crowds coming along. We saw last weekend, nicer next step venues, blah blah blah. I don't mean, you get my point that a lot of ingredients. Now what else can we add to that, Citera, to continue to make darts here, fully move into that next stratosphere?
So there's a couple of things that I'm thinking here. Number one is, we definitely want to build, and are trying to build something for North America. We're not just building, PDC West. That being said, we're still a feeder system to the PDC, and that's one of the big enticements for the top of the top to come, and play with us, because you've got a good shot of getting over and playing in the World Championship, or potentially the World Cup, or the Grand Slam, or MSG, or whatever it is, right? And hopefully those opportunities will continue to grow. Obviously, they like what we're doing. There's no doubt about it. Matt Porter has said that multiple times. When I talk to him, he's very, very positive about where we're taking things. But that doesn't build the North American piece of it. And so the next step, obviously, is to find a way to elevate the middle. And there's a number of ways you can do that, right? You can expand the number of events. You can pay deeper. You can lower registration fees. There's multiple pieces to that puzzle, and it's just a matter of how to work them into the business. And that's something that we've tried to be eyes open to, in that, the top 16 guys are amazing, and they are. But there's got to be ways now that we can start to explore things with the, I don't want to say second tier. That's not really what I mean, but that's kind of the descriptor for it. The guys who are 17 to 32, I like the way Alex put it. The guys who, but for a little consistency, could be, the top 16. So how do you get those guys to be the top 16? And one of the ways you do that is by repetition, right? Beating up on each other, giving them more opportunities to play. And, we'll explore ways to do that. We'll explore ways to work on payouts. Obviously, sponsorship matters. This is a business. So I consider and talk about the ideas that we have, and we have them, but we also, and I guess the onus is on me here, but we've got to make this work from a revenue perspective to be able to, to do these things that I'm talking about. And the gambling piece of that could be a significant step forward. Right now it's in its infancy. We don't have any numbers yet. They probably won't get anything till the end of the month in terms of that. I talked to the guys at All Sports yesterday, and we probably won't have anything toward oraz the end of the month to really go by. But it was a first step. It was a first step on a road where there might be a pot of gold at the end of it. That being said, there's a lot of steps along the way. We've got to beef up the real-time data transfer. There's a lot of work that needs to go into that database, and the handshake, and the data integrity piece of it. There's a lot of training that needs to happen for players. There's a whole bunch of things that need to happen to get us there. But don't lose sight of the fact that we took another big step this past weekend. That's huge. And I think, obviously, we got a lot of sport over here. There's always the danger of being overcrowded. You play on a weekend. There's 9 bazillion other things to bet on the weekend. But we're starting. And I want to make sure everybody who's watching this and who's rooting for North American darts understands that there's nothing guaranteed in this world. But at least we are positioning ourselves further down the road to success than I think we've been in the past 10 years.
Thanks, Pete. And I wanted you to lay all of that out, and then we can show people that they actually they can be tied together, in that the 16, for lack of a better term, that Alex is talking about, that are at a certain point, right? That are now used to showcase, because they're now compelling. They're now giving you broadcast quality that drives, as you said, burgeoning gaming, which leads to bigger sponsorship, more income, and that is those 16 are what helps drive the expansion to support the 17 to 32 striving to be in that 16, right? Like the ability to sell those 16 enables us to help generate support for the next level that's working hard, competing, so on and so forth. So I just wanted it to be seen that there's an intertwinement there, that somebody, top 5 has an positive influence on someone who's 29th, working towards that, and to see that there's some simpatico there.
Well, and it goes one level deeper than that now. We have the concept of the associates list, where we will have a list of people who are playing in the Q schools and who are going to play in the summer series / support tour. People who are not tour card holders, but who would have the opportunity, if we don't get 64 tour card holders signed up for an event, we'll have the opportunity to get these people in and actually see what the event is without being a tour card holder, if they're up, high enough on that support tour list. So there's another level of, trying to engage more people, bring more opportunities for more people to play more darts more often.
So before we move on, we'll sort of put to bed this past weekend cross-border. Congratulations to Alex again, and we talked Nations Cup. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to close the show with a great piece that's going to give you a synopsis of what happened with the Nations Cup. So don't go anywhere. We're going to present that at the end of the show. But first, we're going to touch on our last topic that all 3 gentlemen that I'm speaking with tonight are going to be highly involved in. And it's another sort of facet, this opportunity that we've been given to be a part of something called PopCon. And you see on the bottom of your screen the information about PopCon. It's open to the public. So it's a huge, massive pop culture convention there in Indianapolis that the Championship Darts Corporation is going to have a booth at, is going to have the ability to, share the game with non-dart fans, with, those fans and those people that we saw a taste of at Uptown Social to come, engage, have fun, let loose for the weekend, and be part of the show. So Alex is going to be one of the 4 players that we have on site. Peter will be there, and Angelo has been taking point on helping build the whole experience. So I'm going to start with Angelo and give Angelo some floor time here on tell us about PopCon, what fans are, maybe expected to see, and what great things we hope to achieve at PopCon with CDC.
Well, first off, I think it's a great opportunity. We were offered the spot to be an exhibitor at PopCon, which is next weekend, 26th to 28th. It's not like we're going to be sitting there in some little booth. Like they're giving us a 30 by 30 space, right? So that's 900 square feet to kind of show off what the CDC is. Mm-hmm. Our missions are, to teach people to kind of become a fan of the game, meet players, and just understand how the game is played. So along with Alex, we're going to have Jim Long, Jason Watt, and Jules Van Dongen, a real nice cross-section of personalities and people at different levels in their careers. They all bring something to the table. So I think from a talent level, we have 4 great people there that are going to be able to talk to the spectators and, represent, the company here and darts in general. So in addition to those folks, being there, we will have a featured board set up, and they'll kind of be playing against each other and probably have some interaction with folks in the venue. We will have a separate board set up for competitions. We're going to run daily competitions, 9 darts, highest score, right? And then we'll give prizes out at the end of the day or every few hours, that type of stuff. And then one of our partners, Dart Brokers, they're going to be on site as a retailer. And we'll have a third board where folks can try out equipment. We'll have some darts set up. They could test different darts and chefs and flights, etc. And kind of the players that'll be there and the staff. On site we're going to have myself, Peter, Sally Kelly, Sean Green, and Jeff McMahon on site to kind of lead some of these contests and training, etc. So we're trying to make this as interactive as we can for the folks on site. I mean, this is a pretty big convention. I'm not gonna lie, it's my first pop culture convention, but from what I understand, there's 30,000 people are going to pass through this hall right over the 3 days. If we can get even a few percentage of those people to come by and see what we're all about, and I don't think it's a hard sell to say, hey, here's 3 darts, come up and see what you can do. I think that's an easy sell to someone, right?
Yeah, lots to be sold there. Like a simple introduction and love of the sport, of the game, right? That we all want to sort of present to the public, which sort of just feeds the grassroots of it. The players that we have on site, like you said, lots of great personalities, lots of great brands to follow, and like, hey, I met this Alex Spellman guy, or I met Jim Long, and wow, I really dug him. So what is he playing next? Well, I want to now go search out what he's playing. Sell us as a company, the excitement that we're trying to build. And even, it occurred to me, not only just, complete non-players, but a great chance I'm sure there's going to be people that might go in the building, or people may make a point to come down that do love darts, and a chance for them to show their friends. Like, hey, this is what I've, been playing all the time, or this is what I love, or, they just happen to stumble upon us like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. I know what this is about. Let's go check this out.
So yeah, I mean, if we can convert some of these people to become fans of the game, right? That's at its lowest level, right? Okay, people who may have no idea what darts is. Okay, all right, we all know it's a game that some guys had a board in their basement growing up, but to see, we're going to have TVs on site with sizzle reels of players like Alex and with their accomplishments, the CDC. When they start realizing, now this is a crowd who likes to dress up when they go to conventions, right? It's not a stretch to say, okay, people who go to, the World Championships, et cetera, and Madison Square Garden will be dressed up as well. So there is some simpatico there. So hopefully it's something that, catches their eye, or, just something, right? It's awareness at this point, right? I mean, I don't think we're going to walk out of there with, 10 great dart shooters, but I don't think that's the point, right? I mean, it's awareness of not just the company, but darts in general. And, I think these 4 players we have on site are going to be great ambassadors.
Wholeheartedly agree.
I was going to say, I think the other thing that maybe people haven't thought about, or maybe even mentioned, is that this is going to also be advertising the game in a clean environment, not at a bar or where we're traditionally seen. And that's another step towards, it's like what the cornhole folks are doing. They don't have alcohol sponsors. They have Bush's Baked Beans and other things that's a little more, it's easier to sell this game to the youth and like schools and things when it's seen in a PopCon environment versus a local bar environment.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of, at first I wasn't sure. I was like, PopCon, huh? I was trying to process it, and from talking through Peter and Anthony and everyone, okay, I started to get it, right? As I started to think through it and see, what we could kind of do there. Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world, right? But to your point, Alex, having it in a clean, environment, I think, is a huge step forward for the game.
Well, and don't underestimate the fact that there's top tier talent there, right? You got people there's a Walking Dead reunion taking place at this event. So at some point, I'm hoping that we can get a little challenge going on between some of the other talent in our booth, right? Let's have the worlds collide. If you run down, if you go to the PopCon website, if you go to the PopCon Indy website or popcon.us and find PopCon Indy, and just roll down the schedule, I mean, there's something there for everyone, right? You got a Walking Dead reunion, you got all kinds of photo ops, you've got first shooting one, like there's a little slice of something there for everybody's little thing, and having us as a part of that, I think is really cool. I when the opportunity was given, we talked about it. I said yes immediately, and I'm really excited about it. I really think this is a big thing.
Well, and one other thing.
Hold on, Angelo, just 1 second. I just want to remind everybody, if you've got any questions about PopCon or anything we've talked about, we are monitoring the chat, so we're going to take a few questions before we sign off, and just give us a like and share on YouTube and our social medias, and we'll turn it back over to Mr. Angelo.
Yeah, so one of the things that's come up in the last few weeks is from the organizers, these type of events, they have panels, right? So they're going to have panels with some of the different celebrities and maybe panels for other specific things towards people that'll be there, whether they're artists, etc. But so Alex, I don't even know if you're aware of this yet, but you will be part of a panel. All four of the players will be going to be featured, right? So on a panel with questions to be asked, and it's just going to be you guys, right? So that's going to be your guys' time to shine and kind of show the world that you're great ambassadors for the game, and I know you will, right?
What another great layer of experience, like we talked about earlier. Another thing to put on the resume, to sit and do a panel at a convention. So with that, I think it is going to be great as well. I can't wait to see what the reaction is, what, not only just, as it's going on, but the report from the staff and the players as things go through. So keep tabs on PopCon, everybody. And on the bottom of your screen, if you want to join the CDC at PopCon, you'll get that info down there. Let me look up the link quickly. It is popconindy.com. So if you go to PopCon Indy, you'll not only obviously get to see what we're doing, but like as the gentlemen have touched on, there's going to be just a massive array of different things from TV and movies and comics and the whole deal. So an absolutely awesome opportunity for the CDC. So excited to see that come out. So now let's check with our man Jeff behind the scenes and see if we've got any questions ready to go, and see what the crowd has got for us. I have not gotten a sneak peek on here. Let's see. David Green asks, any thoughts on events on the West Coast? Sorry, David. Take it away, Pete.
I don't think you can say sorry, David. There's a reason that we're predominantly in the middle of the country, although just teasing that we have our one weekend we haven't announced yet, and we're not going to be in the middle of the country for that one. But I think that as the tour expands, that the dart scene out west is really starting to become a thing again. There was, for many years, the dart scene out west wasn't really much. There wasn't a lot of support. To the extent there were events out there, they weren't really well attended. But that's changing with things like the Portland area open. We've now got dart players, Northwest, DPNW, which our dear friend Nils Nelson and Jeff Springer are trying to launch. So I'm not saying no. I think that it's a viable option in certain places as the tour expands. And this is, to be candid, this is one of the biggest questions that I get across, when I'm talking to people, and it's not just, just here. I get it from overseas too. When are you going to go out west? When are you going to move? It has to make financial sense, and there's a lot of logistics involved with it. But I can see us doing it. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say we're going to be tucked away in the Midwest from here till eternity.
Sorry if I sounded mean there. I knew the immediate answer was, on the short horizon was, and there's reasons why we're not on the West Coast. But now is it time to pull back the curtain a little bit and circle back a little to Alex being on the Players Council and Pete and I trying to put things together. There, believe it or not, there's a lot of differing opinions on a lot of of pull from different directions to be in every corner that we possibly could, to the other extreme to centralize and be in one location for the entirety of a tour or a series of events. At that point, you would call it, right? So it's not an exact no-brainer that one or the other is the overwhelming crowd pleaser, right? And as we go on, there's always pluses and minuses to it. Some people want repetition. I want to know the same hotel. I walk in, hey, Susan, I get my cookie, and I know exactly where I'm going to stay each and every time, and it's the same flight, and so on. And then there's other, pluses to being in different parts of the country. So I just want to say that it's not always an easy proposition to make these decisions, right, Pete?
It absolutely isn't. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of interest there, and you're not going to make everybody happy. But now, to the extent when the qualifiers, when we made the intentional decision to move away from the qualifiers we used to have, and I know we took a lot of flack for that. There's a lot of reasons we did it. I think it's still firmly believe it's the right thing to do because of the level of play we've seen. But as we moved away from that, there was less need to move. But now when you have the associates list and you've got, and we've tried to partner with some of our summer series events across the country. They're not exclusively in the Midwest, but as you start getting people on that associates list from different parts of the country, it is helpful to be, remote. I say remote. It's helpful to be in more than one region, I would say.
Well, Alice, you have any thoughts on that before I babble on again?
I mean, it's tough. There's pros and cons to everything because, like seeing some of the guys in the chat, they're like, we can have an East and a Western and a Central. Well, that's great. But you forget that the country is also quite tall. It could take you 18 hours drive just to go from one tip to the other, if not more. It's tough because like you said, there's pros and cons to everything. It's okay. You split up the field. Well, that kind of dilutes the talent pool a little bit. I don't get to play some of the other best guys because I'm locked in my region. There's stuff. I mean, I during the council meetings, I would throw out stupid ideas, even if it just meant that it might spark an idea from somebody else. I brought up proxy events where it's like, okay, it's CDC weekend. We got we got something set up in Dallas. We got something set up in Chicago. We got something in Florida, and we got something in California. You go to the venue, that is nearest or most convenient for you. And if you have a live match against someone at your location, you play them in person. If I'm in Florida and I'm playing Larry in Chicago, we have a scorekeeper. People are getting used to playing on these online live soft tip matches and the online stuff with DPFL and other things. It's, is it a great idea? Would many people do it? Maybe not. I would, because I just like to play. But it's just, you got to, with the country our size, you got to start thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, it's ideas, it's brainstorming, and it's, like you said, it's trying to think outside the box. Go ahead, Pete.
And if you're talking about it from a logistical perspective, we hear the travel is expensive. I mean, we hear that, right? And I feel it. So it's expensive for a player to travel from wherever they are to wherever we are. Take that and multiply it by the 8 guys I got to send on staff to run the event, plus the logistics of getting the equipment from place to place, the stream from place to place, the internet, all of the stuff that goes in. This isn't like, you just show up and you have an event. There's a lot of planning logistics that goes in to getting this road show where it needs to go. And that can't be overlooked when you're talking about where we're expanding and what the funds are.
And with that, sorry, go ahead.
And that's not to whine. That's not to whine, no. and it's also not to deride the question. We understand why these questions are asked, but we want to explain, for proposals to be of multiple sites or multiple things being divided. We've got to take an already thin staff to and multiply it around the country, and those so I could take that $10,000 that's going to allow us to go, and I'm making up a number, but you get my point, that to like Pete said, to get the equipment different places, or I can tighten up and use that money and put it into a prize fund, so that there's just so many different angles to this that get very complicated.
Every time it gets brought up, whether it was something you guys bring up or, you know, Jason Watt on his BDG page, it was, okay, what's the deterrent from you coming out? And most of the time, I'm the only person saying it's prize money. Most everybody else says it's the cost, it's the time off, it's the time away from the family. But I'm telling you, if the prize money is up there, those three things get a lot easier to deal with.
I'm just going to say that's a salve to those wounds. Like, I justify the extra day off if I've used up my vacation days and I got to take an unpaid day. Well, if the prize money is such, I can cover it. If my family is disappointed, I'm on the road again. Well, Sunday night I might come in late, but boy, if I could smack down, $1,000 on the table, it makes things a little easier.
But not only does it make it better on us players, but it gives you guys flexibility to choose some, spend that extra dollar to go to a city or, whatever. Like you said, it's a huge expense. But if you guys are pulling in revenue from the gambling side or the whatever deals hopefully come up in the next couple of years, it makes it easier for you guys to expand from that point.
Certainly. It truly does all, not all, but the overwhelming majority drives from money. It's simply a numbers game. It just is.
Money isn't everything. It's just up there with air and water,
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I skipped the last Challenge Tour event. Why? Because I played awful in January, which meant I wasn't high up in the standings, and it's like I can go win an event, and I'm maybe just breaking even. It didn't make – if I was higher up in the standings, it makes monetary sense, but because I wasn't, it doesn't make monetary sense, and so I didn't go. And it's the same thing here. This is my job, but if I see it's going to cost me $1,200 to travel, hotel, food, entry fees, and the most I can make is like $1,500, that doesn't seem worth it to me, so I just don't go.
If it's a straight A to A equation, sometimes there's an investment in, down the hill championship or other things like that. And I'm not directing that directly at you, because I know you're more savvy than you'll understand that equation, that I may not come out in the here and now on the plus side, but I'm putting an investment in what the potential could be. So
if there's potential prizes that make it worth it. So like let's say that I go to the CDC has things to offer other than money. It has world championship spots. Up until those two jerks in January stole my World Cup spot. We got World Cup spots to play for. There's things to play for. There's things worth, and even if it's not going to be your year this year, if you're not there getting the experience, guess what? Next year's not going to be your year either. So, yes, things like the CD. I'm speaking more towards your average weekend.
Understood. I know. Understood. And we get that. And so now you talking about opportunities. Let's just sprinkle a little bit, Citera, something that I know got put out, but I don't think we've talked about it since. Another opportunity that goes to the idea of attempting to make the next step, but travel and expense being a hurdle to it. What's another little wrinkle that the player who finishes first overall on this year's points list, you get the Jay Tomlinson trophy, right? You get the number one seed at the Continental Cup. You get World Championship inherently for whatever nation you're representing, and then there's another little couple of sprinkles on the Sunday.
And now you get into the second stage of Q School. You don't have to go. You don't have to go to the first stage and kind of go through the gauntlet to qualify and get to the second stage. You're right there into the second stage of Q School. That was kind of announced. You're right. We haven't talked about it a lot. That was announced. It was brought up at the end of last year, and that's just another example of another opportunity that the efforts that we're putting in are bringing for players. So that's big, and there'll be other things like that. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing, right? You need to have the players to get the opportunities. You need to have the talent to get the opportunities, but the opportunities don't come. I mean, it's the big circle, right? But I think we finally got to the point where we're starting to see the opportunities come externally, and we're creating our own opportunities internally as well.
All right, so let's we saw a question dangling up there that we didn't get to. We were so engrossed in that last one. It was great conversation as well, folks. So, but our partner, L. David Ireet, it's sort of a landmine question, but I'll read it and then we'll dive into a little bit. In terms of building the game, do we head to colleges and universities? As my partner and head of the company takes a big sip of his drink and wants to frame the question, well, if you're talking about this company and its stated goals, then headed to universities is not exactly spearhead at the top of it as an overall idea.
I mean, by the way, there's no Baileys in this coffee. This is truly coffee.
I think
with that question,
be.
I always wish there was. So I'm going to tiptoe through this. First of all, is there opportunities to create a fan base at colleges and universities? Yes, unequivocally, yes. To grow that requires effort that is dedicated. You need, and that's not a one-person thing either. It's probably a 2 to 3 person hours and hours of work to make it happen. And I'm not suggesting it's not a valid effort, because I think it is. But I also have to look at where we are as a company right now and the resources that we have. That's not just monetary resources, but our HR resources as well, our human resource and human capital. And where do we want to spend that human capital? I think we get more bang for our buck spending human capital going to a place like PopCon when it comes in our lap than we do trying to figure out a plan and then launch that plan to go to different colleges and universities. Again, I think it's a great thing, and I think that you could really make it, college challenges. There's a roadmap you can put together now to get there, but I just don't think for the company at the moment it doesn't support our core mission, and that's the toughest part about leading and being part of a company that has so many passionate people about what we do, because everybody in this staff from top to bottom loves the freaking game and loves darts and loves what we're trying to do. But that's the biggest challenge, is saying no to opportunities, even when you think those opportunities might get you somewhere, weighing what the opportunity cost is to pursue those. And if we pursue those, then maybe something else that we need to do now gets continued to be backburnered. We have a project list that's backburnered that's multiple pages long. And I think that we need to work on some of those things before we go to the colleges and universities, even though I do absolutely see an opportunity there for some growth.
Yeah, if you're in college or associated with universities and you have a passion for this, a question like that should inspire you to inspire people to check out the game or play the game, that sort of thing. I know you're both college gentlemen, right, Angelo and Alex? Do you have a perspective on that? Any on that question or that angle?
So when I first started playing, most of the league players were right at that age where they started having children. So the league kind of was dying down. And I put up flyers. I put up all kinds of stuff because, I tried to equate it. It's not too much different mechanically from like beer pong. It's just instead of throwing here, you're throwing there. Obviously, I played up like the drinking and having fun because they're in college, or making some side cash. That's how I started playing. I got forced into a blind draw, and I didn't even notice the people in the corner playing darts. And I got first or second that night. Realized I just made more money playing darts tonight than I did working at the grocery store for 8 hours, and that kind of got me hooked. Yeah, I mean, me personally, this is something that I've talked to a lot of people about eventually doing. Don't want to go into too many details, but I am more interested in the middle school, high school age versus the college age personally. I think I can sell the game a little bit better to that range and to those kind of schools versus universities. But yeah, it's something that is definitely, again, if I'm focusing on growing the game here, this is something that I'm very actively thinking about all the time.
And we need that generation too, Alex. If you look at what just happened, we had a 10-year-old that just threw 104 average in a JDC event last weekend, right? So at some point, this generation, we've made leaps and bounds progress with this generation, but if we look at the next generation, there's going to be that the gap is going to continue to widen again, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Sorry, Angelo, I didn't mean to step on you.
Yeah, it's listen, these are all good ideas. Certainly there's an audience there, there's something there. But whether it's the CDC's, like you mentioned, the bandwidth versus the, I don't want to say responsibility, but we have a lot of good dart minds. We have a lot of people, like you said, passionate about the game. And sure, I would love to kind of spearhead something like that. I think I'd be good at it, right? Like get a team together, let's figure out the college thing. But I'm going to miss out then on other things that the company needs to do here. There were requests from some others that the CDC should kind of be involved at the local league level, right? Like, yeah, I could see how we could provide guidance, et cetera, maybe it's a feeder system or somehow ties into the CDC, but is that our role? I'm not certain. Certainly not today. Maybe in 10 years. I mean, do we want to become the governing body of darts? I don't think that's what we want to do, right? We are a company. We have a professional players. So yeah, a lot of these things sound sexy. Like, yeah, it's kind of cool. We could be involved with that, but yeah, I think we really need to, pick our battles, if that's the right word. But I think all of us would love to do all of this stuff, but we just can't, right? I know I can't.
We need to focus on the core mission, which is to grow and the top level of the game and fandom, and hope that as fandom grows, some of that other stuff happens.
Right.
That's really the right path forward.
And that's like the JDC is separate from the PDC. They might be under the same general umbrella, but it's just different. And you talked about feeders stuff. Well, that's kind of what, Anthony kind of started up with the DPNY, and we had, DPNC a couple seasons ago. They got DPNW. Like those are the kind of things that one gets you prepared for this level of play. And it's almost like once they get accredited, they got enough people showing up and stuff, then that's when the CDC says, hey, okay, winner of DPNW gets a tour card or, something like that.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an absolutely great conversation, gentlemen. I want to give you the floor if you've got any, any last words on the topics we've talked about tonight, or anything new, or anything you want to plug quickly. We'll start with Alex, and then to Peter and Angelo.
No, I'm looking forward to next week. These are exactly, the kind of people that I can associate with a little bit. I grew up playing sports, but I was nerdy and into stuff. So these will be my people. And just like you guys talked about, they're already excited and about the things that they dress up as. And we have an opportunity for them to come do that. This game, we talked about selling it to universities and kids and whatever. Well, part of the reason we should theoretically in a couple of years be able to sell it is because this game is accessible. It to everybody. There's 350 million of us. 340 million of us can play darts for the most part. Boy, girl, big, tall, dumb, smart, doesn't matter. This is a game, and especially, I don't want to assume that these are a bunch of nerds that weren't cut out to play football or something like that, but I feel like the odds are pretty decent that there's going to be a number of those people here. And this is an opportunity. This is a game where you can be a standout. You don't necessarily have to be, no offense, a physical specimen of what, not all of us can look like Jules, but, and I'm talking about not here, but here, but for real, this is a game that's accessible, and maybe the guys that weren't cut out for other sports, this is an outlet for them to be competitive, but still maintain that nerdy side of them and dressing up and having cool, they can become a player and then have their own cool jersey and their own brand. Like I do the Egyptian stuff, whatever. I'm just looking forward to what next week and what the next couple years are going to bring.
Amen to that. Thank you, Alex. Pete?
I think we're really missing an opportunity for walk like an Egyptian there, Alex. I just basically want to take a couple of minutes and say thank you. I want to thank everybody that was in the room this past weekend. I want to thank everybody that was at home watching. The viewership numbers were great. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you weren't in the room and you have this desire to go see an entertainment that involves a game you love, look for the next one. You missed out. You really did miss out. That's not just saying that to say it. There's some really cool things going on and really big momentum, and it's the stuff we do is wonderful, but it's really you guys that drive what we do. Without you, there's no reason for us to really do any of the show stuff, right? We firmly believe there's a market for North American spectator events. We believe it. It's a long road. There's some pain involved, but we believe that it's there, and we keep seeing sparks. And if you keep having sparks, eventually you end up with a flame. And thank all of you for the continued support and just being behind us.
Mr. Angelo, what say you? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, two things. First off, PopCon next weekend. Meet the players, learn the game, become a fan. Those are our 3 goals. I'm confident we're going to meet those goals with Alex and the rest of our talent and the rest of our staff that's going to be on site. And then just some, gratitude to you, Peter and Anthony, and the rest of the CDC team. Being a part of this, it's pretty cool as a dart fan, a mediocre dart player. It's great being involved, seeing, like we said, Alex's 9 darter and that kind of stuff. It's exciting to me, and to be part of this team is great. And the entire staff puts in a tremendous amount of work, and I'm not certain all the players are aware of that, but I can assure you we put in a lot of work, and we do enjoy it. And, just thanks for having me as part of the team.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So right after PopCon, what's next for the CDC? We stay in Indianapolis and we open up the 2024 circuit proper with weekend 1, May 17th to the 19th. So weekend 1 of the championship dart circuit, we'll see 2 main events being played and some opportunities to qualify to round out the field there at the theater at MSG. So there you go. There's the season line up there. We open up there in Indianapolis in May, and we move around some Chicago, some circle back to outside of Indianapolis, and very soon, I believe, weekend number 4 to be announced. My partner, Peter, will probably have some insight on that. We'll get that out. I think we're about to dot some I's and cross T's on a contract. Great
the
location.
I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, Ant. The I's are dotted, the T's are crossed.
So do you want to roll with it here and now?
If you want, it's a nice little reward for people that stuck around to watch us, right?
Where are we at? Weekend 4, Peter Citera. August 23rd.
We are going out east, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to Niagara Falls. We will be at the Sheraton, Niagara Falls, New York, right across the street from the Seneca Casino, steps away from the falls and Canada. It's going to be great. I'm really excited about being back at Niagara Falls. We were at one of the lodge venues there a few years back in 2017, and people have been prodding us to go back, and it's the right time to do it. So hope you come join us in Niagara Falls, New York.
Dust off your barrels. The CDC's going back to Niagara Falls. All right. So, weekend 1, we open up and some chances to play at MSG. So check out our website, champdarts.com, if you want to register for those open qualifiers. They're open to anybody that is eligible in North America. So come on out to weekend 1 and take a crack to join Alex Spellman on stage at the theater. at Madison Square Garden. I urge you to look us up on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Just search at Champ Darts. Give our pages a like and share them. We would be most appreciative. So I want to thank my contributors for this evening: Angelo DiGiulio, Peter Citera, and your 2024 Cross Border Darts Challenge champion, Alex Spellman. On behalf of those gentlemen and the Shootin' the Bull team, I'm Anthony Eugenia. I want to urge you to be nice to your fellow human being. Thank you for watching, and I just remembered, don't go anywhere. We've got a great wrap-up of the Nations Cup. And then I will close out by saying we will see you for the next episode of Shootin' the Bull. We off, Jeff?
And there you go. Match number 1 goes to Stowe Bunce, the defending Continental Cup champion. And he hits the 120 checkout for the match. For the win, Jacob Taylor, the truth, puts another point on the board for the Canadian team as they now take a 2-1 lead in the Nations Cup. And he hits it for the match. Danny Lobby Jr. 5-2 victory for him over Steve Warnock. And there it is, a 12-darter to finish Jordan. And that's all that was needed was one match dart. Keith Way upsets Jules Van Dong in 5-2. Max pressure. Leaves 100. What a great setup from him. And he hits it, a 146 to win. What a checkout. But it looks like there's going to be a lot of pressure on this, at maximum pressure on this.
Here we go.
32 left.
Oh, yeah.
Hits it.
Oh, wow. Look
at that. Double 10. And he hits it. What a gutsy move after doing the face and the come on. And he gets it into a 17-darter to win it. You are Darth Maple.
Yes.
Well, Jake McMillan continues to defeat seeded players. We get one dart. Double 16. And he needed one dart. Wow. David Cameron wins it, breaking the throw once again at Danny Lobby in the last leg decider.
Yeah, they were just a bit hopeful, those darts. The stroke wasn't confident.
And there you go. Stowe bunts. Pins double 10 for the win and a 5-1 victory. Captain, we have a battle on our hands.
We do have a battle, and the semifinals now are very interesting to all concerned, yes.
Oh. Put some pressure on.
96.
He's splitting. Double 4. And that's a bold move that pays off for him.
Your winner, Alex
6-5
Spellman.
victory for Alex Spellman in the last leg decider. He will be the first finalist in this year's Cross-Border Darts Challenge. He becomes the first American finalist ever in this event.
That dart makes it more interesting as well. Significant pressure now on Cameron.
Double 2.
Game shot.
And the Nations Cup
David Cameron
is retained by the Canadian squad and their captain, Darth Maple John Part.
Yeah, obviously we're quite happy in there, the flag's waving. And as you mentioned earlier this evening, you know, the challenge was on. I mean, the American team looking very powerful, but just doing enough here tonight. The Canadians and David Cameron, first and foremost now, getting to the final and pushing Canada across the line with them.
on it. 98.
Well,
Alex
Spellman,
60.
he's missed 8. But he doesn't miss 9. And Alex Spellman
CDC Cross-Border Challenge winner is Alex Spellman!
is the champion of the CDC Cross-Border Darts Challenge.
Thanks for joining us for Shootin' the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.